All right, let's get into it.
All right, question. When it comes to disclosure, what are you looking for out of it? Are you an experiencer who's looking for like a form of validation? I've talked to a number of people who are experiencers firsthand, and one of their main burning questions is, why me? You know, why did it happen to them? And they're trying to understand that. Is it something like that? Are you on the fence and it would tip you the other way? Are you someone who wants transparency out of the government and that would be a reward in itself? Are you looking for an I told you so moment, perhaps? You know, if we got validation, absolute validation that, you know, with disclosure that this is all legit, is it I told you so? If we get full disclosure in whatever way it comes, if it's, you know, from the government, if it's aliens that land on the White House lawn, which so many people hope for, what would you get out of it? What are you looking to get out of it?
This is a really good question, and I'll be curious to hear what you guys have to say about it as well. For me, what I would like to get out of it is to get an idea of what the planned next moves are in the world. If there's this big reveal of aliens, if that's what they want to call them, or if that's what they really are, is that what's really going on? Am I going to believe what they're showing us if it so happens to be extraterrestrial life? How believable is it going to look? And what are they going to prove? And how are they going to prove that whatever they're saying is real? I personally believe that that's not even going to happen. I think that it's always going to be a bait and switch type of tactic. And truthfully, I think things like this go down to distract us from something else going on in the world that we're completely unaware of. There may be hints here and there circulating around, but it's very uncommon for just anyone to know about it. And I think that that's what these moments are for, is to distract us from keeping an eye on what's really going down that's major. So by them doing this grand reveal, how believable is it going to be? Because when the grand reveal happens, is it just going to be smoke and mirrors? And how many people could possibly be fooled by it if it is? Again, this was a great question. I would also like to know what you're trying to get out of this.
People have just found out why they actually get this. Ever had it where your vision just starts to see all these weird like particles just like flying around? Almost like bugs like walking over your eyes. It just look weird. Or maybe even like static sometimes, similar to how it looks in the photo. First of all, eye floaters. These little dots, they look like bugs that you might see sometimes. Now, these are not in the outside world. These are actually inside the back of your eye. They are essentially little nuggets of gel and protein that are there to protect your eye. And they are just on the surface floating around. Pretty grim when you think about it, actually. I kind of feel a bit sick now. They are literally just drifting around the fluid of your eye, there to protect you. And when they do this, they then cast shadows into your retina, which means you will see them when you're just looking around. But it is nothing dangerous at all, completely harmless, and pretty much 99.9% of people have it. However, something called visual snow, this is similar and a lot of people experience this. Essentially what it sounds like, it looks like visual snow and static. Your vision looks like static sometimes. Some people have this on a mild level, some on a much severe scale. Many things can lead to this, but most commonly it's things such as anxiety and depression. But a lot of research also shows that this is basically just faulty signaling in the visual cortex of your brain, and again, it's not actually harmful. So the thing with visual snow is scientists aren't 110% certain exactly what it is. They have an idea of what leads to it and what it is, and they know that it's probably nothing terrible, but I guarantee a lot more people than you think actually do have this.
The eye floaters, I can see. The visual snow, that just sounds migraine inducing.
It has to be one of the coolest Yowie photos I've ever been sent. Got sent down this Reddit thread and this fellow goes, a workmate of mine sent me these photos. Him and his mate had spotted something in the scrub, so they got their torches out there and had a look, and this is what they came back with. I reckon a few of you have seen the same thing I saw. Check at the start. I looked and I'm like, is it a tree? And look, I can see like the big Yowie structure sitting there. That's sick. Nah, it was actually what's to the left. You see the red eyes just glaring through like crazy. So what the boys have done is they've enhanced the photo. So the boys whacked up the brightness and the saturation on the photo and it's come in like that. Pretty cool. What's even cooler is when you invert the photo, it comes up like that. Telling a lot of campfire stories about Australia and adventuring around investigating, a lot of people send me photos, right? This was cool though. This was a really cool one. And I found something that I think would make it like even cooler for you. These are the drawings First Nations Australians used to do of the Yowie. A lot of people out there go, ugh, it's just wildlife. Have some fun. You know what? The UFO files have just been released. Like, it all tells you enough, right? And if not for nothing, connect with some of the stories that the First Nations Australians used to share. Like, connect with that side of it, because it's bloody ripper. You got any crazy stories or photos or anything like that you want me to have a suss of? Send them through.
Honestly, with the brightness and contrast turned all the way up on it, it kind of looks like a Call of Duty zombie. There is no way I would have ever have seen that in that photo if it was not pointed out. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Saturday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon, and every once in a while, really late at night. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know how lucky I am to have so many rad people like you following my journey here. Per your request, it's time for the first I Want to Know merch drop. It's a t-shirt designed and hand-drawn by yours truly, me. Bam! Woo, that's fun. It's got pyramids and tunnels and all the fun things that we like to think about and talk about, and just the mystery of I Want to Know. And it's meant to be fun because there's a lot of fun in the adventure of life. It's got a little I Want to Know badge on the front. They're unisex. Hit the link in my bio. They're limited. Get one while you can. You're all amazing. And that's why I want to know why there's a temple in the Angkor Wat complex that is the only stepped pyramid in the entire complex that resembles the step pyramids of Tikal in Guatemala. The Boksai Chamkrong Temple in Angkor Wat is a stepped pyramid, and it's very similar to the ones in Tikal. The similarities are incredibly striking. They are both steep, multi-tiered pyramids with a temple or a shrine at the summit, and they are meant to be climbed. Both temples use height symbolically, with the summit shrine representing a connection between the human and the divine realms. They're both part of separate, vast, urban temple complexes. They are also both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but they are both obviously worth protecting and keeping and studying. But what I want to know is, how did a pyramid get built in the Angkor Wat complex that is the only step pyramid in the complex that is very, very similar to those of the pyramids in Tikal? And the distance between the two is 10,000 miles. And I want to know, were they communicating while they built them? I don't know, but I want to know.
Hey, it's about time he did the influencer merch thing. Hey, I get it. People do ask for certain things, and merch is definitely one of them. I'm personally not a merch guy. I just like making my own merch. But if anyone's interested, link in the description. His artwork is really cool. And I too would like to know, when it comes to all of these temples, it almost seems like they had some sort of connection somehow. Kind of like today, a lot of homes and designs are kind of the same. What if another 5,000 years from now, maybe even 10,000, people run across our remains and wonder the same thing? Why are all these structures the same, while they were raised and live in capsule pods underground?
Researchers have estimated that there is a roughly 1 in 20 chance that humanity will go extinct by 2100. Yes, that is 5 times more likely than your risk of expiring in a car accident in your lifetime. Now, we do talk a lot about potential catastrophes here, but have you ever wondered what are the most likely scenarios that will result in mankind's extinction? Well, we'll talk about it. Also, apparently laymen think that humanity's extinction is not really a big concern until it gets to be 30% in the next 100 years. Look, if there was a 1 in 20 chance that a plane would go down every time you flew, would you really fly? I mean, I would, but that's a different story. Let's talk about it. There are going to be 2 major factors, social and environmental, and unfortunately those align. Also, I'm interested to know that artificial intelligence has been added to the list. Now, one of the greatest risk factors is our ability to work together in a society, and this allows us to address any of our other disasters. We need to believe that there is a society worth participating in, because believe it or not, we all have a pact that we will engage in the world around us, and once we stop believing in the rule of law, well, then we just have chaos. Now, ecological collapse is my biggest concern, in part because I am a molecular biologist and I work in agriculture. I make alternative fertilizers, and I am not very optimistic about the future for ecology. We are watching the global ecosystem collapse. It is important to understand that no one catastrophe stands alone. All of these are connected. Economics is tied to infrastructure. Infrastructure is also tied to our ecology. Any part of this house of cards coming down could cause a global catastrophe. And of course, all of this is standing on the backs of our willingness to participate in society and come up with solutions, because if there is no hope, then no one is going to be motivated for a change. Yes, one person cannot do all that much, but we can all work together and maybe something would change. Unfortunately, a lot of people feel disenfranchised and that there just is no hope.
A 1 in 20 chance by 2100, unless it's nuclear warfare, I really don't see extinction happening. I mean, that's only 74 years away, so anything's really possible within that realm. Now, if they release certain type of robots that can perform certain functions for men and women, yeah, extinction will happen within probably 250 to 300 years, unless they create like cloning programs or artificial wombs and collect eggs and seeds. And in that case, they'll just probably make worker slaves, and that'll be a very scary world to live in.
What happened to Malaysia Flight 370? There's a lot of theories about what happened, but here's my personal favorite. Remember these 4 names here. These are 4 names of Chinese inventors that are very important people for humanity. These 4 men who went missing with the MH370 flight were actually Chinese inventors, and they held and were named on a semiconductor patent that would completely change the game for microchips. This may not sound suspicious to you until you learn that about 3 days after the flight goes missing, a man named Jacob Rothschild gains 100% control of the patent. Question is, was the plane taken down in order to gain access to a piece of technology that could lead in billions of dollars of profit? This is what Jacob Rothschild looks like, or should I say looked like. He actually passed away in 2024, not too long ago. But if you don't know about the Rothschilds' lineage, they are quite possibly the most powerful and richest bloodline in all of human history. But let's be honest, guys. I mean, I don't think anybody would ever do this just in the name of profits. I mean, it probably looked more like this. I think aliens abducted everybody on MH370.
You just really have to hope that next time that you take a flight, that there is not someone really important that has some kind of life-changing technology or a patent that's ready to be released. Because if so, you may want to cancel that flight. And if you're making these life-changing patents, you may just want to keep it to yourself and release it privately. It's not worth sacrificing your life and others around it.
Is anybody else having visions or dreams of the future? Now, before you freak out on me, I'm not having visions of anything except what I actually see. But I am having dreams of a future, and it's not a good one. Everything is gray, buildings are abandoned, people are in small groups scavenging. I describe it as The Walking Dead without zombies. Yeah, it's like a dystopian future, if that's the right word for it. And I have these dreams almost every single night. Not every night, but almost every night. And in almost all of them, there's somebody with me who has passed away in my real life. Both of my brothers have been in these dreams, and they're no longer with us. My mother's been in a few of them, and she passed away years ago. Even one of my best friends, who I knew for over 30 years, who passed away just a couple of years ago, is in these dreams too. And in every single one of them, it's almost the same. We're trying to get out of this urban wasteland. Sometimes by car, once by a train, and another time with a hot air balloon. And when I wake up, I'm freaking out because it felt so real. So I just want to know, is it me? Is something going on with me? Because I'm not watching weird movies that would prompt this. Or maybe, just maybe, in the slim chance that I'm part of a collective consciousness, that we're all experiencing kind of the same thing. Let me know if any of this connects with you. If you're having visions or dreams of the future.
Unfortunately, I do not get enough sleep and or I do not dream when I do. So cannot say for myself. And I know you say you haven't been watching anything to prompt these, but you are aware of The Walking Dead and other apocalyptic type shows. That could be a reference. And if you're in the conspiratorial realm, doomsday, fear-mongering, all that stuff is within this realm. So you could be taking that in and fabricating that in your dreams as well. I'm not trying to dismiss any kind of possibilities. I'm just taking a guess. If any of you have felt the same way or have dreamed like he has, or if you even had visions, let me know in the comments. Or go hit up this guy on TikTok. Let him know as well.
The following footage comes from a man named Derek out of Alabama. He was moving into his new home when he found 2 homemade Ouija boards, and he wasn't going to play around with that, so he decided to start a fire and throw them in there. And while he did, something happened, something he can't explain. He captures what appears to be figures coming out of the fire. doesn't know if he released something and if he should be worried, but this scared him. Take a look at this footage. Comment below. Tell us what you think.
First of all, I was very confused as to why she was whispering. Apparently in her description she was sick and she lost her voice, so that's why if you are wondering as well. And second of all, are we talking about the camera lens flare that's the figures coming out of the fire? I mean, they don't really look like figures to me, it's just a lens flare of the fire with, I guess you could say, a violent aura. But I would also have to say, 2 homemade Ouija boards would be nothing to play with. I would too toss them in the fire.
In the early 1800s, an invisible entity tortured a family so violently that people claimed it could see the future, it could speak, and it could even kill. This is a terrifying story of the Bell Witch. The haunting began in 1817 at the home of John Bell in rural Tennessee. The family reported hearing scratching on walls, chains dragging across the floor, and get this, something gnawing at their bedposts at night. But the attacks became physical. John Bell's daughter, Betsy, was allegedly slapped, bitten, pinched, and even dragged from her bed by something nobody else could see. But the creepiest part, this entity eventually started talking. Witnesses claimed that this entity could whisper and it could scream, but get this, they also said it was reciting verses from the Bible and telling secrets on people. Word spread so fast that even the future president at the time, Andrew Jackson, took a visit to Bell Farm himself. Legends say that after strange paranormal events that happened that night, Jackson said that he would rather fight the British at New Orleans than even attempt to fight the Bell Witch. But then comes the darkest moment of all. In 1820, John Bell suddenly died after months of a mysterious illness, but that's not even the worst part. His family claimed that they found a little vial of black liquid next to his bed. Still to this day, many people believe that the Bell Witch is the only spirit in American history who has been blamed for killing a man. So was the Bell Witch a hoax, or was it something much darker?
I mean, it could have been the Bell Witch, or an angry wife. Interesting story, I've never heard it before, but it does make you wonder. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one.
So as we all know, the Department of War has just released the first tranche of UAP files. And in Trump's words, the people can decide for themselves what the hell is going on. Have fun and enjoy. That doesn't sound like a question. That sounds like a handoff. 161 files. They allegedly have 4K imagery, high-res video, indisputable evidence. And out of all of that, they opened with the moon. Now, that choice matters. The official post states that the administration directed the release of files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, right? That language is on the record. It is official. One released file focuses on Apollo 17. This was December 1972. A photograph documents 3 dots in a triangular formation in the lunar sky. The release includes no definitive explanation for these objects. And separately from the Apollo 17 transcript, pilot Schmidt says it looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. These are 2 anomalies, 1 mission. So notice what came first: older cases, historical material, Apollo-era files, not the most current operations. Keep your eye on what gets delayed, because sometimes that tells you more than the release itself. But for now, we have 161 files, war.gov/UFO.
I mean, don't get me wrong, doing your own research is great, and I do want to do some digging on these files. I'm not certain that we're going to see much right now because there's supposed to be more drops coming along the way, but it would be nice to have some authoritative figure, someone that you could trust, maybe a representative of the United States, maybe the President of the United States, could lay down some things and explain what's going on, what they know fully full transparency instead of saying, here, have fun. And again, it's nice to have the files to look through. It would just also be nice to have a leader of the country and or at least representatives of the country to sit down and explain what's going on through these files. At least that's what I think.
Here is a terrifying Appalachian mountain creature encounter. The video was uploaded on January 23rd, 2026 with the caption, "Remember when Appalachian hikers followed a whistle distress signal and found this? Take a look."
Remember when Appalachian hikers followed a whistle distress signal and found this?
Allegedly, hikers began to hear some whistling off in the distance. To them, it sounded like a distress signal, so they followed it, something you aren't supposed to do in the Appalachian Mountains. If you ever hear anyone calling out or strange noises and you can't see them, you're supposed to leave it alone. This is just one of the many so-called rules out there in the rugged area. But against the rules, these hikers followed it, and they came across this terrifying alien-looking creature. The creature is crouched low, hiding behind a tree. Then it peeks its head out, making itself more known. The face looks super uncanny and disturbing, like an alien mixed with a human. When the hikers realize what they've come across, they put the phone down and shut off the video, and then they ran away for their lives, completely shocked at what they just discovered. Now, the main theory people are going with for this one is that it was an alien, some kind of extraterrestrial hiding out on our planet. But others think it could be a cryptid, like the Rake or a skinwalker or something. But regardless of which answer is correct, it's definitely something unknown. Something we weren't meant to see.
Man, I'll tell you, these cryptids are lucky that the people that they run across are only carrying a camera. Because in my neck of the woods, they wouldn't be carrying a camera. It'd be something that shoots though, that's for sure.
This UFO was filmed by the US military in 1994, and they were stunned. This is the real 1994 Nellis test range footage. Infrared tracking cameras are locking on during military exercises, and suddenly this bright, disc-shaped object appears in the sky. It zips left, right, and accelerates like nothing we had in the 90s. Just listen to the operators.
I don't know.
And they can't keep up. The system is literally struggling to track this object. This isn't some blurry phone video, and this is the official range camera footage that leaked in 1995 on hard copy. Now enter Jason Sands, retired Air Force Master Sergeant and intelligence analyst stationed right there at Nellis during the exact time period of this taking place. Jason was one of the first people to review this video as part of his job. On the Joe Rogan show, he broke it down. The operators were filming live during training, and the object was moving so erratically the tracking system could not lock on. And he says this was not one of ours. But here's where it gets insane. Same year, same area, Sands says his convoy was leaving the range when they spotted what looked like a guy in military uniform running towards them. Up close, light blue skin, no ears, eyes like a crocodile. The being telepathically asked for a specific material, tritium, to repair his damaged craft, Sands says. It wore the uniform better than we do, and he's 100% convinced it's connected to the footage like this. And this isn't some random sighting, this was military grade evidence from a restricted test range, reviewed by an insider who was there, and skeptics say balloon or classified drone, and believers say this is one of the best pieces of UAP footage ever leaked. Either way, the military has never officially explained this footage, and to this day it remains a mystery.
It's very interesting. It does look abnormal, but it's also hard to tell what you're looking at exactly. I mean, they're saying that this is in the sky, but how do we really know that that was in the sky? And not just some trick of the lens. I don't know, hopefully we'll get some better, clear information with these UFO UAP files being released, and maybe we'll run across something similar to this, but in an updated time frame.
In Oklahoma, there have been more drownings that are unexplained, people disappearing on the water, on lakes in this area, than any other place in the world. Now, a lot of people attribute this to what they believe is some sort of giant aquatic creature that lives in 3 lakes in Oklahoma. Now, I've researched, I've studied this extensively, and I believe, without a doubt, there is something residing in Lake Thunderbird. Now, this story comes from actually Lake Thunderbird. There was this fisherman who said one night he went out on his bass boat and he was out in the middle of the lake. He had cast several lines out and he said he was just sitting there in his boat. He said, it was just a calm, clear night. The moon was out. There wasn't another boat in sight. And he said he just got this like eerie feeling. And he noticed just how calm, how still and placid the water was. And he said it was just like very quiet, which was odd. And he said all of a sudden, off in the distance, he hears a loud splashing sound. And then over in the other direction, he hears another loud splashing sound. And then in another direction, he hears this loud splashing sound. And he said as he looked out over the water with the moonlight shining on it, he started to see sort of this wake appear, and something very large was moving in the water towards his boat. And it got within a few meters, and then he said it just submerged it, and the water was calm. And so he said, I'm out of here. I'm pulling the lines in, and I'm going to leave. So he started reeling his lines in, and he said the next thing he remembers, like he felt this sharp pain up the back of his leg all the way to his back. And he finds himself flying out of the boat into the water and going under. And he said the water was just murky, dark. He couldn't see anything. Something had a hold of him and was pulling him under. And he said that's when he sees these two luminous eyes that are staring at him. And he just started to fight as hard as he could to get out of like whatever this was hold. Said he managed to get free, and he starts swimming towards the light of his boat, gets up in his boat, and he just accelerates towards the shore. He gets to the dock, gets out of the boat, and he goes up to the shore. And that's when he notices he has several lacerations all up his leg and all up his back. And he said right at that moment, he heard a loud splashing sound right by the dock. And he said there was this canoe that was tied off. And he said these like tentacles came out of the water, grabbed onto this canoe, and submerged this thing. And he said it just terrified him, and he ran out of there and has not been back to this place since. This second story takes place in the same area at the RV park. There was a woman who was staying there. She takes her dog one night for a walk along the lake. And she said she just remembered hearing splashing sounds coming from the water. And at first she thought it was just like a fish, but she said, whatever it was really large. As she's walking along the water line, she said she just kept hearing the splashing, like whatever this was following her. Then it got quiet for a little bit, and she said, well, it must be gone, whatever it was. She said the next thing she knows, her dog just starts barking and alerting her to something. She looks up ahead, and she said she sees this thing that was as large as a cow, and it's dragging itself along the shore. And she said her dog managed to slip the leash and takes off running towards this thing. She hears her dog yelp. This thing grabbed her dog and just starts dragging it into the water. And she said, it just threw her off guard and like terrified her. And she couldn't believe that there was something in the water that could take a 90-pound dog and just drag it into the water like it was nothing. This third story comes once again in the same general area. There was a man went out fishing one night on the shore, and he said, he cast his line out, and the next thing he knows, he said he's seen this just bright light in the sky. And he said he noticed it just kept getting brighter and brighter. And that's when he could see that this was some sort of like ball of light. And he said it just hovered over the lake, and it was kind of moving back and forth. And then he said it dropped down and it went into the water, and he watched the thing submerge. And he said he could see like the glow of it as it went under the water, and then it just disappeared. So the next thing he knows, they're splashing right where his line is cast out. And he said he just dropped his pole and he ran off. And he said that like shook him up pretty bad. And he thinks that whatever was in that lake was associated to whatever that light was that he's seen in the sky.
So Cthulhu lives in Oklahoma. Got it.
Daisyian glasses might be the wildest thing you've never heard of. These weird, funky blue goggles that allowed us to see dimensions we weren't supposed to before they got banned. You're not going to be able to find this one on Google, and in fact, finding any info about it was next to impossible. So in 1911, a man named Walter John Kilner developed something called the Kilner screen, using a special material called daisyian, which is a crystallized blue dye derived using a very specific scientific process from coal tar. He mixed these crystals with a solution and poured the liquid daisyian sandwiched between two layers of glass. And when he looked through it, he saw something different. So normally our eyes are only able to see a very slim spectrum of light, the visible light spectrum that we see every day. There are also radio waves, microwaves, ultraviolet, X-rays, and more, which are also light rays but outside of our visible spectrum, so our eyes can't see them. But now looking through this daisyian glass screen, Kilner observed that he was not only able to see light outside of our typical visible spectrum, but also entirely new, unknown spectrums of of light as well, allowing the user to see what he described to be the aura that surrounded and emanated people's bodies, the astral plane. A person's essential life force, their electromagnetic field, and how weak or strong it is, kinda like Neo from the Matrix. Stronger auras are carried by people with stronger presence and vice versa. Every human has an aura to some degree. According to him, people with epilepsy or mental deficiencies appeared to have significantly smaller or contracted auras, and people like pregnant women had wider and more expanded auras, which is where the pregnancy glow comes from. But now this is where it gets a little disturbing. Kilner made a goggles version of this Dysean glass so he can walk around and test it out in public, the forbidden Dysean glasses. And what he noticed is that not everyone had an aura. We're not talking just a weak aura, but like none at all, as if they weren't even alive or maybe not even human, assumed to be some sort of strange entities living among us, disguised as regular people, but they're something else entirely. Whether it be extraterrestrial, supernatural, shapeshifters, demonic entities, or even interdimensionals, and they're all around us. He reported his findings in his book, The Human Atmosphere, written in 1911. Bro is literally the OG granddaddy of aura forming, and you can't even find any pics of him online. He wrote a revised version in June 1920 that expanded more on the notion of science finally catching up with claims of higher dimensions, and he sadly passed away that very same month. To be fair, he was 73 years old, but still interesting to note. And then sometime in the 1940s, the US government banned the use of Dysean dye, claiming it to be too toxic, and now you need special top secret clearance just to buy any of it yourself.
I have always been interested in Dysean glass or Dysean goggles, but I've always been sketched on them being legit to purchase them because you can buy them online. Whether they're real or not, that I do not know. They say that they are, but I have my doubts, and I can never find anyone that's actually purchased them for a proper review. But if any of you have any of those goggles out there, let me know. What is it like when you wear them? And do you believe that it's an actual visualization of other realities or dimensional planes?
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. For anyone out there that celebrates Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. I hope it was a pleasant one for you. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday. And if not, have a good day anyways.